This Way Out commentator Janet Mason celebrates the biography of a shameless friend of lesbian royalty.
I read Secret Historian, The Life and Times of Samuel Steward, Professor, Tattoo Artist, and Sexual Renegade by Justin Spring, primarily as literary autobiography. Deep down, many writers want to compare the highs and lows, the successes, the despairs. Ultimately, we want to see how they did it. Samuel Steward, born in 1909 in a time of shame, lived shamelessly as a gay man, a sexual renegade who not only broke the law and risked incarceration simply by being gay, and also by chronicling his exploits, was a man of many contradictions. He kept meticulous files on his sexual encounters between 1924 and 1954. At last count, he had cataloged details on close to 5,000 partners in his, quote, stud file. A literary man, a college professor until he was fired in the mid-50s for being gay, he was an intellectual who worked closely with Alfred Kinsey, intent on proving the existence of homosexuality. He succeeded in proving this with each meticulously detailed record that he kept, along with his collection of erotic artwork and photographs. Gay men did indeed exist, even at a time when they could be incarcerated for being homosexual. Another remarkable fact of Steward's life was his lifelong friendship with Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas. His relationship with these two older women was longer and more sustaining than any of the emotional bonds that he had formed with men. Soon after he graduated from college and was teaching and living in Ohio, Steward wrote a fan letter to Gertrude. They became lifelong friends. He genuinely liked her writing, and she genuinely liked his praise of it, writes Spring. But the friendship was hardly one-sided. Gertrude, who was in her mid-60s and near the end of her life when they first met, gave him advice on his writing and his life. When he wrote to her about his struggles with alcohol, Gertrude, who along with Alice had banished alcohol from their home, responded calmly that self-esteem may be the issue, describing it as the question of being important inside one. When they first met, Gertrude and Alice still entertained, but their lives had quieted down after Gertrude's book tour of The Autobiography of Alice B. Toklas, Stein's first and only commercial success in her lifetime. Spring writes that Steward immediately appealed to Stein and Toklas as an adorable, childlike young man over whom they might fuss as much as they liked. They called him Sammy from their very first meeting and would alternately pamper, scold, and praise him for years to come. Steward kept a record of his conversations with Gertrude, which ultimately were published 35 years later in his memoir of his friendship with Alice and Gertrude, entitled Dear Sammy. After Gertrude's death, Steward remained close with Alice. In their correspondence, she encouraged him to write and even took an interest in his tattooing business. Steward's interest in tattooing dovetailed with his middle age and his concurrent interest in sailors. Under the name Phil Sparrow, he ran a tattoo parlor in Chicago, a profession that he pursued full-time after he was fired from his university position for being gay. Of his ongoing friendship with Toklas after Stein's death, Stewart wrote, "It was as if by maintaining a contact with those like me who had known them both, she was drawing life from the past to help her continue in the present." When Toklas died in 1967, Stewart became very depressed, writing to a friend, "It upset me a great deal, but then she secretly wanted it for all these empty years since Gertrude died. And I hope it was a happy meeting." Ultimately, Secret Historian not only chronicles the life of Samuel Steward and his aliases Phil Sparrow, the tattoo artist, and Phil Andros, the writer of gay pulps detailing the lives of gay hustlers, but also segues through history spanning Steward's lifetime. As a gay man, Steward, who died in 1983, lived from a time of complete repression to the era of gay liberation. As a writer, he had few literary successes. Ultimately, what makes Stewart remarkable is the life that he lived. This is Janet Mason with commentary on queer life and literature for This Way Out.